The administration has also revived the CP1 phone app to tell undocumented immigrants to self-deport. Missouri's local economies are paying the price of immigration enforcement fears, as reported by Tadeo Ruiz-Sandoval and also Crystal Sanchez, who are with the NPR station in Columbia at the University of Missouri. Welcome to you both. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for accepting us here.
All right. First, how much of the Missouri labor force is made up by Hispanic workers, and where do they typically find jobs?
Well, the most recent Missouri workforce report we have uses 2021 data from the Census Bureau. Now, according to that data, Hispanic workers made up 5.3% of Missouri's labor force. Nationally, though, Hispanic populations make up 19% of the U.S. labor force, according to a 2023 Bureau of Labor Statistics report. Now, these folks usually make a living within the agriculture sector, where they, alongside other migrant and U.S. workers, help contribute nearly $94 billion to the state economy.
So, is there fear of arrest that is leading to lots of rumors where these folks are trying to do their jobs?
Yes, it is. A key thing to understand about many Hispanic communities is that we tend to interact with one another through WhatsApp and Facebook groups. But ever since the early weeks of our new administration, these sites have been flooded with photographs of regular police cars that are then labeled as immigration enforcement. Because of how fast these rumors spread, it's oftentimes really difficult for many to discern local police presence from federal enforcement. And the consequences of these rumors is fear. Fear that keeps some people at home relying on others to get them groceries and other necessities. Fear that is sometimes more harmful than the actual presence of ICE itself.
So, Crystal, do they know they have labor rights as working immigrants, or do they receive any training about this, like what to say if they're confronted?
Well, it depends where they are. There are a lot of advocacy organizations out there, such as the Rural Community Workers Alliance, who provides labor rights training to working immigrants. And it's not just organizations, it's also individuals in the community who have been dispersing Know Your Rights flyers. And we've seen this in St. Louis, Kansas City, here in Columbia as well. But what's troubling is that there are still some regions in Missouri, particularly in those rural areas with high percentage of immigrant workers who still do not have access to this information. For example, I was told that there are some immigrant workers who are contracted seasonally, especially in those meatpacking plants, that live on the site. So because they live on the site, it's harder to reach people because no one from the outside is able to let in. And so although there's efforts to provide awareness, it's difficult to achieve unless you really happen to meet them in these outside places.
So what happens to the state economy when these folks are no longer feeling safe, or they're hiding when they're not on the job?
The economy suffers. So through a business perspective, think about what makes your consumers buy. So the first thing that comes to mind is, do they have financial capital? And that's the obvious one, but thinking about beyond financial assets and thinking more into social and human assets. So are your customers doing well socially and mentally? In this case, some members of the Latino and immigrant community aren't, because they have that fear of being deported, even with no criminal background and having been settled for years and years here. So when you have that disruption, consumer behavior is going to change. And we're seeing that happening in the fact that people aren't feeling safe and participating in everyday activities such as grocery shopping. So it's really important to note, too, that it's not just undocumented workers or consumers who feel this fear. It's even international consumers across the board. I've talked to people who are authorized to work here, people with visas, people who have their residencies, but because of the political rhetoric and the current administration's target on immigrants, they've also scaled back on their day-to-day activities.
And on the other side of this, you both also looked into those little businesses that have a Hispanic clientele. What did you learn? What's going on there?
People are not doing their everyday shopping. Business is slow. Again, because of that fear and because there were and are rumors circulating about where ICE officers could be at, including these small businesses. And it's hurting them even more because their consumers are mainly Hispanic and they're located in small towns. So that's really where their source of income is coming from, and that's affecting their pockets.
So today, let's widen out the picture. Talk about the possible impact on Missouri's agricultural economy, which is very big. Is it already impacting the economy on the farm?
Well, according to the National Agricultural Workers Survey, or NAWS, about 78% of all farm workers identify as Hispanic or Latino. Now, while this survey does not take into account their citizenship status, it does say that crop laborers are less likely to have been born in the US. These numbers also don't take into account livestock workers. With that being said, one can imagine the large impact Hispanic workers have for the agriculture industry. It is still too early to tell what the impact could be on the industry as arrests and deportations are ramping up.
So here in Springfield, as far as we know, there are at least 30 people in the Greene County Jail. And then an hour east of us, there was one sheriff that we did a story on this week who just signed a 5-year contract with the feds to house ICE arrestees. And he says that will pay for the jail operation expenses and they won't have to ask taxpayers for any money anymore. What else is happening elsewhere like this?
So we are two members of a larger team that is trying to find the answer to that question. For this story, we traveled to northern Missouri, where there are still little to no arrests happening. However, in late January, St. Charles County Police arrested 11 people without documents on unrelated charges, and the city of St. Louis, for its part, has said they don't have any partnerships with federal law enforcement agencies.
So last question here. Tell us about the all-Spanish website that has gone up in St. Louis. Who is that for and what does it do? And what kind of information does it give?
Yeah, so the website was started by an organization called St. Louis Juntos, and they emerged during the pandemic to connect the Spanish-speaking community in St. Louis to health resources in their language. It's since expanded to offer resources in Spanish, including information on how to seek out interpreters, lawyers, and learning about current laws that may affect the Hispanic and immigrant community. Something else that I'd like to highlight is they have a social media campaign going on called Soy St. Louis, where Hispanics can use hashtag Soy St. Louis or hashtag Somos St. Louis to really show the visibility of the community. And I think it's important because advocacy organizations helping the Hispanic community still remain strong, not just in St. Louis, but other parts of the state as well. And there are a lot of people doing great things for the community amid these uncertain times.
We've been talking with Crystal Sanchez and Tadeo Ruiz Sandoval with KBIA, the NPR station in Columbia, Missouri, University of Missouri. You can see their reports online and also listen to them on the air, as well as this conversation at KY3.com and our KY3 News app, also Roku, Fire Stick, and Apple TV+. Tadeo and Crystal, thanks very much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you again sometime.
Thank you very much.